bringing you analysis and insight into Alabama sports. Crimson Cover, hosted by John Copeland and Chase Goodbread, and founded in 2010 by Mike Parker. Sponsored by Burnham Hahn and Crimson Village.
Welcome into Crimson Cover Television on WVUA 23. I'm Chase Goodbread, sports columnist with the Tuscaloosa News. Co-host John Copeland unable to be with us this evening. Substituting is Emilee Smarr, our outstanding basketball beat reporter at the Tuscaloosa News. And basketball is front and center with this edition of CCTV. Looking forward to chatting with Emilee about a couple of big topics. Charles Bediako, the former, now current Alabama center. We're going to get into the latest in that case. Alabama knocks off Missouri. We'll have a game update for you there as well. The Crimson Tide looking ahead now to a game at Florida. Some recruiting news from the basketball front. We'll go to the Senior Bowl. Kalen DeBoer has a few things to say about the Alabama offseason. Coaching change as well. So plenty to get to here in this edition of CCTV, but we begin with Charles Bediako, Alabama center, 7-footer, who's sued the NCAA to play for the rest of the season. We have yet to learn if he's going to be able to play the rest of the season, but for the moment, Emilee, he's able to play, and the latest news, of course, is that local judge Jim Roberts has recused himself from the case after it was reported that he was a University of Alabama donor. The injunction hearing has been reassigned to a different judge, Daniel Pruitt, who will take this on February 6th and make a determination whether Alabama will have a really good basketball player for the rest of the season. But Emilee, at least for right now, thanks to a temporary restraining order that's been extended, Bediako is with the team and on the floor.
Yeah, for right now, what a time to be covering college basketball, right? It's just been a whirlwind of the last, week now? So,
busy
Bediako,
for you.
Yeah, very busy for me. Bediako goes to court, I think, last Tuesday, January 20th, and files that lawsuit against the NCAA, and everything's just kind of gone full steam ahead from there. Was able to make his debut against Tennessee with Alabama, and even though it wasn't necessarily the rebounding performance that he wanted, all around otherwise, it was clear that he can be an asset to this team moving forward, regardless of, the nationwide criticism that maybe this decision has brought.
So what we know as of right now is that he's good for 2 more games at a minimum, right? He'll be playing against the Florida Gators certainly this Sunday.
And Texas A&M as well.
And Texas A&M, which will be the midweek game for the Crimson Tide next week. And, of course, what makes this thing doubly interesting and a little more salacious, sensational, whatever adjective you want to throw on it, the injunction hearing has been scheduled for the
day before the IBOB. How exciting is that?
Unreal.
It just really, last year, even though these teams are maybe both struggling this year, Alabama because of injury, Auburn in a new era of coaching, and it doesn't necessarily have the pomp and circumstance that last year's matchup had whenever it was number 1 versus number 2, right?
Right.
But, man, Auburn and Alabama just keeps delivering every year.
Auburn fans obviously all over this situation. They've been getting after Nate Oates pretty hard on social media. Not just Auburn fans, though. It's come from everybody. The national pundits, for sure. And not just usually, Emilee, when you have some kind of controversy in college sports, the coaching fraternity tends to stick together. They tend not to criticize one another. It's not been the case here.
Not at all. Todd Golden being one of the most outspoken by far, and that matchup's coming up on Sunday. So
right.
I think that's definitely going to make it a more exciting one, especially since Alabama's going to be chasing its first win against this team, I think, in 4 games.
Right.
Yeah.
Todd Golden from Florida had something to say. Mark Pope from Kentucky had something to say.
Dennis Gates probably had the most level-headed, I would say, unbiased
take on
response to what Oates did for this team. And I think that a thing that a lot of people tend to forget about, obviously you hear that a G Leaguer is coming back to the college stage after 3 seasons, again, playing in the pros. But it's not like this spot takes away from anybody who is going to be coming into Alabama next year.
Right.
It doesn't take away a high school spot. It doesn't take away a scholarship from somebody. And this is the last semester of eligibility that Bediako has in that 5-year clock that's set whenever he graduated high school in 2021.
Maybe the funniest thing I've seen on this thing, social media-wise, to this point, Emilee, was came from one of Nate Oates' best friends in the coaching fraternity, and that's Dan Hurley, the UConn coach. After this news broke, he comes with a meme or a GIF or whatever it is from the old movie Back to School by that featured Rodney Dangerfield, who, of course, in that movie was, who knows, 60, 70 years old, whatever, goes back to college. Obviously a reference to Bediako being 3 years out and coming back. Pretty funny stuff. And I promise you, Nate Oates and Dan Hurley had a private laugh about that.
Yeah, no doubt. I think that, the other day whenever we were in press conferences, Nate Oates said that he hasn't really given much attention to the outside noise, but he said that he has seen some of the comments that have come across in light of this whole Charles Bediako situation. I have no doubt that was one of them.
He said, I think he said, I've had people show me some things. Somebody showed him that.
Yeah, definitely.
No doubt. All right, what about Charles Bediako's role on this team? We're going to stay with Bediako, but now we're turning to basketball and what he can bring to this team. Emilee, my opinion, I've written it a couple times with the Tuscaloosa News. I think he's exactly what they need. He's a great defender around the rim. He can rebound, and you noted, notwithstanding the Tennessee game where he kind of disappeared, he's going to give him a lot of rebounding help long term, if it is long term. And he's a pick-and-roll monster. And Alabama hadn't pick-and-rolled a lot this year compared to previous years, but he can get to the rim on those too.
Definitely. And I think that another thing that has just been so important with his arrival, even though we've only seen it in 2 games, is the support that he provides to Aiden Sherrill. Aiden has needed that all season long.
Yeah.
And, even though, Noah Williamson has that one legacy game against Kentucky, it hasn't been consistent, but Bediako is back in an offense that he's familiar with, the one that really, kind of groomed him for the NBA. And I think that we're seeing him just kind of gel back in perfectly. It seems like he has a good relationship with the guys, too.
No doubt. All right, before we get out of here in the first segment, a quick rundown of what Bediako did against Missouri. When we come back from the break, we'll get into the Missouri game a little bit more. But Bediako's second game at home against the Missouri Tigers, 14 points, 6 rebounds, a little better with the rebounds for sure. And he only played 18 minutes in that game, right? So you get 6 rebounds in 18 minutes. Well, you play 30, that's going to be more like 10. So a strong performance for him all around. Also, I found this interesting too. Bediako has always been a terrible free throw shooter. He was awful at it at Alabama.
Much improved.
Awful at it in the G League. Just over 3 years in the G League, he was a 56% free throw shooter. At Alabama, in 2 games, he's 9 out of 10. That's not going to hold. It's just not.
You never know. Something about the second time around.
Yeah. All right. We got plenty more to come here on this edition of Crimson Cover. When we return, we'll be talking more Alabama basketball, breaking down that Crimson Tide blowout victory over Missouri at home this past week. We got a little bit of basketball recruiting news as well. So stay with us. You're watching CCTV on WVUA 23.
Burnham Hahn Exterminators offers termite and pest control solutions for residential and commercial customers in the West Alabama area. Family owned and operated, now in its 3rd generation, we stay up to date with the latest advancements in the pest control industry to protect your family and home from pests. We're an authorized operator of the Centricon baiting system. Burnham Hahn Exterminators, here when you need us. Call us today for your complete termite and pest control services.
Welcome back to Crimson Cover Television on WVUA 23. This segment brought to you by Burnham Hahn Exterminators and that outstanding local service here in Tuscaloosa since 1946. Burnham Hahn offers complete pest and termite services for residential or commercial needs. They've got that mosquito control, fire ant treatments, and they're licensed operators of the Centricon Termite Colony Elimination System. It's a year-round service every homeowner ought to have. I've got it at my house. You should have it at yours. Call Clay Hahn and his staff. They'll get you started with a monthly or quarterly pest control program. Reach them at 553-4433 or just go online and visit burnhamhahn.com. All right, Chase Goodbread and Emilee Smarr, the Tuscaloosa News, with you to carry you through some more basketball talk. The Crimson Tide blew out Missouri this past week at home. The final score 90-64. We got some highlights for you here. Emilee, of course, was hard at work in attendance. Myself, I was not there. I was down in Mobile for the Panini Senior Bowl. But really the story of the night, Emilee, obviously Latrell Wrightsell with a huge game, 7 3-pointers, one of his best games ever with Alabama.
Yeah, it was definitely the game that I think that everybody has been waiting to see from him. And I also think it's the game that he's been waiting to see from himself. He said that he's been putting the work in. He knows it hasn't really been showing up in the numbers, but he knew that, quote, in due time, he would ball out, end quote. So I think that we definitely saw that. Again, career high 7 3-pointers. And, you know, even though the Tide kind of struggled to reach 40% from the perimeter that night, it was still a really good night from three other than those. Latrell started that game 1 for 4. So that was definitely something that impacted the 3-point percentage earlier in the night. But, you know, just they continued to rain through, and it definitely pummeled Missouri a good bit.
Yep.
And definitely a good contrast from what happened last year with Missouri taking the win in Como.
Yeah, that's exactly right. I'd forgotten that, no doubt about it. And Wrightsell's a guy who's really struggled from the three-point line this season. If you look at his career stats, his first 2 years, and of course, he's a guy who's been out with so many injuries that it's been tough for him, but he's been well over 40% for Alabama from the three-point line coming into this year, but under 30% this year, I think, going into the Missouri game. Even Nate Oates, a week, maybe 2 weeks ago, Emilee was talking about how he was trying to help Wrightsell mentally, loan him a book, you know, in terms of like trying to get his head on straight a little bit, and maybe the book worked, who knows, but he was on fire.
I don't know. It definitely looked like Wrightsell had been well into the word whenever he was shooting the other night.
LeBaron Philon, 18 points, 6 assists in this one. He continues to be one of the elite point guards in the country. Charles Bediako, who we talked about top of the show, 14 points for him.
And a better rebounding performance, which he challenged himself to do. So
yes,
good for Bediako there.
No doubt about it. If you're 7 feet tall, you better get more than 2 rebounds.
I would hope so.
He'll be a monster on the boards if indeed he wins this injunction for sure, especially if his minutes go up. Again, only 18 minutes against Missouri, but played really well in that time. Up next for Alabama, Emilee, they're going on the road at Florida on Sunday. It's a noon start on ABC. And as you mentioned earlier, Todd Golden has kind of thrown a little spice on this thing with his Bediako comments, right?
Oh yeah, it's been a great time. So initially he went on essentially the Florida version of Hey Coach, and he said with or without Bediako, Florida was going to beat Alabama. So he went on a Field of 68 podcast actually earlier today, and I don't want to say that he backtracked or backpedaled on his comments a little bit, but he did go on to say that he felt like Nate Oates was going to go in and expect to kick Florida's insert expletive here.
Sure.
Yeah. So definitely I think that this one's going to be a fun one. We haven't seen Alabama in Gainesville for a little bit, so it's going to be quite the environment for the Crimson Tide to take on this weekend.
All right, we're going to move a little faster right now through a few topics because we're starting to get a little short on time. Really quickly, basketball recruiting news for Alabama. The Crimson Tide picks up a commitment from a 5-star small forward by the name of Caden Samuels, 6'5", 210, out of District Heights, Maryland. It's around the D.C. area, goes to Bishop McNamara Also considered Georgetown, left-handed shooter. Emilee, this kid looks like he can really put it in the basket.
Absolutely. He's a 3-level scorer, and not only that, but he's also a really good rebounder. The scouting report on him is that he struggles a little bit with consistency, but whenever you're a younger kid, what kid won't? Sure. Definitely a high ceiling and part of a big recruiting class that Alabama's trying to build this year for this 2026-27 season. How insane is that?
That's crazy.
Yeah, but definitely a big part of that class that they're trying to build, and they're still waiting to see if they can get that recruitment from 5-star backyard guy Caleb Holt as well.
There you go. All right, we're going to turn to football really quickly now. The Senior Bowl, Alabama's got 3 players competing down there. Kalen DeBoer went down to Mobile the other day, was asked a few questions from reporters. Here's what he had to say about that offensive line, all the changes up front for the Crimson Tide.
Every day matters, from learning the play calls to the line calls to right now a lot of it's just about the work and then feeling what our culture is about in the weight room, and that's where Dave Ballou and his strength staff and having that continuity there just is really so important. And so they're getting a heavy dose of what Alabama football is from a work standpoint, but in the meantime we're also going to be diving into football and them understanding what our schemes are and what the footwork is. And I think when you got a lot of guys coming in like this, they're all hungry. They're all hungry and looking for their opportunity. And so there's an excitement that can happen too. And so a couple of the guys like Michael Carroll, really is the main guy who took a lot of snaps for us there at the end of the season. For him, just keep doing what he's doing because he's going to lead by example. And other guys are going to come along, Will Sanders, and I'm expecting things from Jackson Lloyd and guys like that too. So looking forward to these guys stepping up. That's what they came here for. We knew we were going to have some graduation. So these guys that are now going to be in their second year were brought here to be ready to take over when this time came.
All right, there you hear it from Kalen DeBoer on the Alabama offensive line. We're going to jump to a break right now. When we return, a little bit more on what's going on up front with that offensive line coaching change, and we got plenty more coming as well, so stay with us. You're watching CCTV on WVUA 23.
It's good to know that in this impersonal world, there's still a local home-owned drugstore that can take full care of you and your family. The good folks at Northport Pharmacy. Owner and pharmacist Rob Colburn will personally see that all of your prescriptions are quickly and accurately filled and your questions answered. And be sure to check out their gift gallery for the finest in gift selections featuring Alabama merchandise, photo frames, children's clothing, beachwear, jewelry, and more. Remember, when you have pharmaceutical needs, see the man who will take the time to get to know you. Rob Colburn at Northport Pharmacy, located next to CC's Pizza, Highway 82 in Northport. Burnham Hahn Exterminators offers termite and pest control solutions for residential and commercial customers in the West Alabama area. Family owned and operated, now in its 3rd generation, we stay up to date with the latest advancements in the pest control industry to protect your family and home from pests. We're an authorized operator of the Centricon baiting system. Burnham Hahn Exterminators, here when you need us. Call us today for your complete termite and pest control services.
Welcome back into the final segment of Crimson Cover Television, brought to you by Crimson Village, the most active and fun-loving aging adult community in all of Tuscaloosa. Residents enjoy the finest in dining and lifestyle experience, great amenities, and a convenient location right off of Veterans Memorial Parkway. Crimson Village offers its seniors 3 levels of care, including the Tide Memory Care program. And when it comes to COVID-19, they take the highest of precautions. Call transition specialist Jonica Ward at 632-6699 if you've got a senior loved one in need of assisted care, or just go online, visit crimsonvillage.com. And remember, Crimson Village owns fun. All right, final segment here on CCTV. Thanks again to Emilee Smarr for substituting for John Copeland this week. Good to have her because it's been such a basketball-heavy show because basketball has been so much, very much in the news. But we're going to stick with football at the top right here. Alabama offensive line coach Chris Copeland is out. Adrian Clem coming in for Alabama. And Emilee, the Alabama running game was just so bad this season. You kind of saw this coming. I certainly felt like Copeland was going to be in a lot of trouble. You can't even run for 100 yards game after game after game. -3 yards against Georgia in the SEC championship game. You got to have some balance. They just didn't have it.
Definitely, and I think that Clem will bring that because if I'm not mistaken, he was previously a running backs coach, so I think that he might bring a different look to the offensive line for Alabama.
I would agree, and I also would say that it's not just the offensive line. I think Alabama needs to get better at running back. I think some of the problems with the running game were on the backs, too, in terms of missed holes. I think they need to be a little bit more athletic. I
think Xavier Crowell will help that, for sure.
Mr. Football.
Mr. Football.
Alabama Mr. Football. Xavier Crowell coming in. He could get a lot of playing time early. All right, moving quickly now. Parker Covers Alabama ticker for you. If you would, please donate to Parker Covers Alabama, a 501c3 nonprofit that John Copeland and I launched almost a year ago now when we lost Mike, the founder of Crimson Cover. It supports wheelchaired Alabama residents, and you can donate at parkercoversalabama.com. All right, quick update from the NBA from some ex-Alabama players. Hornets forward Brandon Miller, 30 points on 9 of 11 shooting, 8 rebounds, and a big win over the Sixers. Colin Sexton, 10 points for the Hornets in the same game, 3 assists. Former point guard for Avery Johnson, as a matter of fact. And Kings guard Keon Ellis, 14 points in a loss to the Pistons. All right, couple minutes to go. Again, moving fast through the rest of these topics. We go to the mailbag. If you've got a question for us in the mailbag, just go to crimsoncover.com, click the mailbag icon. We'll answer your question via email if we can. This one's good for you this week, Emilee. Greg from Birmingham wants to know, has Nate Oates said when Keaton Bristow, will be back from injury, the big forward for the Crimson Tide? What are you hearing on that?
Well, Greg from Birmingham, I hate to tell you, we just don't know yet. As far as Nate Oates has said, this one's still indefinite. It's an ankle injury. I want to say that he said that he got hurt against Oklahoma, or was it even before that?
I think it was OU.
Yeah. So even so, this is a guy who's been dealing with injury all season long. Obviously, he had that breakout game that Alabama absolutely needed in order to take down Illinois at United Center in Chicago. But I don't necessarily see a return for the Tarleton State transfer forward anytime soon.
Bristow played a couple of big games for Alabama in the non-conference slate where he looked really good, brought a lot of energy off the bench. I think Nate Oates needs this guy to get healthy. I think he brings a lot. Now, with Bediako getting a lot of minutes, maybe Bristow's minutes aren't going to be what they would have been absent Bediako. And again, Bediako, who knows? Maybe he won't be around. We'll have to see on February 6th. But with or without Bediako, I think Bristow's a big part of Oates' plans.
And another thing to keep in mind, too, is that London Jemison is back on the come up. He's getting closer and closer to 100%, and he had all the promise in the world before he went down with injury in December. So I think that he'll continue to bring some variety at the 4 spot, especially if we get to see Aiden Sherrill get some more work there.
No doubt. All right, condolences. Before we get out, condolences to the family of Eddie Conyers, Alabama practice official, passes away at 97. For Emilee Smarr, I'm Chase Goodbread. We'll see you next week.
It's good to know that in this impersonal world, there's still a local home-owned drugstore that can take full care of you and your family. The good folks at Northport Pharmacy. Owner and pharmacist Rob Colburn will personally see that all of your prescriptions are quickly and accurately filled and your questions answered. And be sure to check out their gift gallery for the finest in gift selections featuring Alabama merchandise, photo frames, children's clothing, beachwear, jewelry, and more. Remember, when you have pharmaceutical needs, see the man who will take the time to get to know you. Rob Colburn at Northport Pharmacy, located next to CC's Pizza, Highway 82 in Northport.
To Baseball Country, a ministry in West Alabama that reaches far outside the diamond. We create opportunities for people of all ages and backgrounds to encounter Jesus. From baseball and softball training for high school to the big leagues, to men's and women's team sports camps, men's and women's ministry, youth mentored hunts, service projects, custom retreats, and so much more. If you want to get in the game, email sam@baseballcountry.com and follow us on Facebook and Instagram.